Hello, and welcome to the North Coast Journal Preview. This is a show where we take a look at what's coming in the current edition of the North Coast Journal. I'm your host, Tanya Shrum, and we are joined by North Coast Journal's managing editor, Jennifer Fumiko Cahill. Welcome.
Hey, Tanya.
Another week. How are you holding on?
Honestly, I'm dry, so I can't be mad. It has been a wild 2026, first weeks of 2026. 0 stars. Would not recommend.
I do think we're all feeling a little hungover, even if we're practicing dry January.
I know. We got fires, we got floods. What else? I only assume that next week we're going to have locusts.
I was going to say the locusts are are queued up, I'm sure. Lord knows here in Humboldt, I'm sure we're already all fighting ants in our kitchen at this time of year. So what's a few locusts?
Also, I just want to say, just a small moment, I want to get straight to our cover story, but I just want you all to know that if you're wondering where the stupidest ants in the county are, they're at the North Coast Journal, where for some reason they are like crawling around. We can leave out a box of donuts. Not a single ant will go near it. They're like over in the dish soap trying to die. I don't know. We have the worst ants, and we're looking at them on the walls going, do you even know how to ant? There's literally sugar right there, and it's really disappointing. It's I don't know. We got to rethink Darwinism.
It's distinctly not ant behavior. Exactly.
Not ant behavior. We have the bad ants.
Well, let's talk about some problems, and Kim brings us the cover story about what we just talked about, the floods.
Exactly. And this week we have a kind of a group project, Griffin Mancuso and also Kim Ware working together. Oh, that's right. Working together on a story, and it is not good news, but it has some bright spots in it. So as you may recall, if you had a second to look away from everything else that was literally on fire, King Salmon had tremendous flooding this year. There's always some flooding, right? We're always looking on Facebook around this time, King Tides. You see Avi from Falafel Love kayaking into his restaurant. People are dealing with flooded first floors, car damage, etc., etc. This year was a big one. So on January 2nd, the water came in, January 3rd, the peak came on January 3rd. Heavy rain, a storm surge, the king tides, it all was what Brent Freitas at Gills by the Bay told me was a perfect storm. And the peak was that the water hit 10.37 feet on January 3rd.
Amazing.
It's wild. So there was a community support day that they held recently, and Kim went down to that. And between her and Griffin, they talked to a bunch of folks who were handling disaster recovery, basically. And that encompasses a number of things that I'll get into real briefly. But the Humboldt Community Organizations Active in Disaster, HCOAD, encompasses a bunch of partners. Among them, get ready, Pay It Forward Humboldt, the Red Cross, Pine Hill South Bay Family Resource Center, Humboldt Grange, County of Humboldt, Cal Poly Humboldt Project has something within them that is called the Fields Landing and King Salmon Living with Water, or FLKS, along with a bunch of other county agencies. And they were all coming together. Local state representatives were touring the damage. Everybody was looking around. One of the people that Kim spoke to was the HCOAD executive director, Nick Bound Crawford, and they talked about what steps they're taking, what people need, and how they find out what people need. And wow, it was a lot. So when you hear something like, wow, the water reached 10.37 feet, what does that translate to on the ground? What it came out to so far, mind you, because we remember with Rio Del, with the earthquakes, we had one number and then more numbers as we went on to find out, like, okay, more houses are unlivable, more houses are potentially dangerous, etc. 39 of the 200 residences, almost 200 residences, suffered major damage. Among those, 3 homes have been deemed unsafe to live in, and 25 saw moderate flooding. So that's not just damage from water in the exterior or whatever. This is actual water in your house, right? Your cats and dogs are up on the furniture. So that estimate of how much damage that is has gone between, say, 500,000 to 750,000. It's hard to say, it's early days, but it is really a tough number. That number doesn't really give you a sense of its impact because we are not talking about a necessarily wealthy community. So let me give you an idea for folks who maybe don't spend time in King Salmon. The demographics of King Salmon break down to the median age of about 68, 60 in Fields Landing. 56.1% of households have a retired person in the home. Almost 40% have someone with a disability in their home. And more than 55% of the households made less than $50,000 last year. This is a particularly vulnerable community. It is hard to bounce back. Hard to maybe, if you find out you've got $10,000 worth of damage, that's a make or break amount of money. Less than that can make or break a resident. People's houses, some of the folks that Griffin and Kim talked to had, say, 2 feet of water in the house. They had their electrical boxes submerged. They had floors completely destroyed. And anybody who's ever had water damage, black mold, you know how tough the recovery from that can be.
That is unlivable. Yeah.
It is unlivable. So, I mean, black mold is a different thing, and they don't get into that in this story, but you know what damage, I mean, we're in Humboldt County. We know what damage water can wreak. But there are photos that the FOKS folks gave us that are, someone walking waist high in water down the middle of a street. It's untenable. One couple that was interviewed talked about how their car is a paperweight because it's filled with inches of water and you can't come back from that. So it's really hard to come back from. And one of the questions that I had going in, which I always have going in, is why do you live there, right? Why would you live someplace where this happens pretty much regularly? This was the biggest one. This was enormous compared to some past experiences, but I'm always wondering what brings you back here. And one of the residents, Linda Carter, said, and I think she speaks for probably a lot of people, my whole thing I say now is that there's 365 days out of a year. There's 15 crappy ones in King Salmon. There's 350 great ones. And I get it. It is a place with a really tight-knit community too. Will they make the FEMA threshold? Probably not, because FEMA, as you know, as we learned from Rio Del too, and Kim reported extensively on that, those damages that have to, that threshold of damages, financial threshold that you have to meet for FEMA help, it's hard to do with less expensive real estate, right? You don't have these high-end houses that are going to rack up the dollar amount of damage. And so, is FEMA help looks kind of out of reach. And as we find out, there's so much red tape, there's all this difficulty getting housing assistance, but the folks that are there from HCOAD are trying to help, the whole bunch of agencies connected there are trying to help folks get through the red tape of insurance, finding housing, whatever they need, everything down to like getting some food and staying warm. So it is really something to see the way that these local organizations are coming together and the way neighbors are helping each other. Like one neighbor, for example, helping by offering, my dryer still works. Do you need a dryer? Do you need a washing machine? And yes, we do. People helping each other like that is part of the reason that people stay in King Salmon too. And it is really, really lovely to see. It's really tough out there. There's another bunch of statistics that you'll see in the paper. They talk about place attachment, attachment to the place you live. And in Fields Landing, out of 5, they have a 3.5 average attachment score by the residences. I've lived some places where I was like, once I'm out of here, I don't care if this burns to the ground and somebody salts the earth. But people really feel tied to the place, tied to the community. In King Salmon, it's 3.9 out of 5. Wow. So, right, it's a really strong connection to a place and to the community. And in some ways that serves them because they really are helping each other out, which is pretty beautiful to see.
And it is highlighted in the article, these different agencies, if anybody is interested in also lending a hand, how to connect with them.
Yeah, we have some contacts that were shared with us that we've got in the story. And there's also more stuff about what they're going to try and do going forward, but they are still assessing a lot of the damage. I also, as part of this story, went and talked to somebody at Gills by the Bay. And did I stop and have a crab sandwich? I did. Gills is open. I should let you know that because it was completely flooded. And if you saw the pictures on Facebook and elsewhere, it's crazy. And the photo that's actually running in the paper and online this week is crazy. It looks like Gills is a boat. And when I was walking around the property with Brent Freitas, who runs the crab shack for his family, the family that owns Gills, he was showing me like, oh yeah, that decorative boat in the middle of the lawn that you see was actually floating. It was drifting around. And when I asked him about how they recovered, like how are you guys going to clean all this up? It was like the day after the flooding. And he said to me, well, we're going to wait for the tide to come back in to move some of this stuff. And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, we're just going to let the water lift it up again so that we can move it back out, including like this big section of boardwalk that broke loose. Like he was like, well, we could drag it, but the tide will just move it again. And I was like, wow, you are really adjusted to this.
That is working with Neptune for sure.
Truly. And anyway, I felt like it was a really interesting story. His family has been down there since there was a whaling business in Fields Landing. So their attachment to the place is really something, and how they've learned to adjust, and yet how much more severe this was than it ever has been before. What that link is to sea level rise, which feels so sadly inevitable. To me, it was really eye-opening to learn about how somebody can get their mind around the fact that this is going to happen every year, every 5 or 6 years to some degree. And it was wild. I asked him, so how come you don't move the restaurant? And he said, he sort of glanced at the window and gestured at it, and he said, where else can you come to work and see all this?
Oh, that's heartbreaking. Because, I mean, he's right. Of course, it is such a lovely community if you've ever visited. And yet, obviously, I like the statistic about, do the residents think the flooding will continue to get worse? And it's like they all know what they're facing.
Yeah. Nobody, I think, is in denial about the fact that it'll keep coming.
And, Neptune does what he wants with that water. So,
so yeah, I'm really hopeful that things will that there'll be some more aid, and they're counting on a lot of donations and philanthropy. If you want to donate, there's also information about how to do that. So if you've got the means, there's the method in this week's story.
And I encourage everybody to pick up the journal and read the entire collaborative article for themselves, including Jennifer's piece about Gills by the Bay. And with that, we're going to shift over to some other news about what's on the table this week, Jennifer.
April Lewis is fantastic. You may recall that she wrote about some food in SoHum previously, and I can't tell you how great it is to have a food correspondent in SoHum. It's fantastic. There's a lot going on down there, and she's all in it. So this week she is writing about J Cafe, which you may recall J Catering. Are you familiar with J Catering?
This was all new to me this week.
Let me tell you something. Right now, there is a bottle of J Catering blue cheese salad dressing in my fridge, and I have marked a line on it the way your parents used to do the liquor bottles, because those salad dressing bottles are something like $13, but they are 110% worth it. They're fantastic.
Of course.
And when I realized that this is the same company, J Cafe and J Catering, that these are the same folks
together.
It's great. And April has some great discussions about what to eat when you go. It's also next to the Whitethorn construction campus, which I have never been to. Have you been?
No, not at all. I feel like we have an inside scoop.
Right? And I did not know that not only is there, I'm going to go and do construction. I am not, but there is a gallery of woodworking that is fantastic. And I've seen pictures of it since. It looks amazing. So you can kind of go down there, look at some beautiful woodwork, get yourself a sandwich, like, for example, the Bourdain.
That's what I was just getting ready to say. I've always wanted to try a Bourdain sandwich, and there's no way I'll ever make one for myself. So
listen, it is a Kaiser roll, which is the correct breakfast bread, unless we're talking about a Dominican bodega. But outside of a Dominican bodega, in my opinion, the Kaiser roll is what you want, with mortadella and provolone cheese, and it's all bubbly and crinkly and fried and charred at the edges. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I am definitely going to get down there. Tanya, I think this is definitely going to be a stop for us.
This is a road trip, yeah.
Yeah, she has wonderful things to say about it. So check out the article, and thank you so much, April Lewis, for letting us know what's happening in SoHum.
Yeah, I really am appreciating all this inside track on this delicious food in SoHum.
I know, it's so good. And Tanya, you and I were talking about our next date coming up.
It's time to get into the alley, into the opera alley.
Yes, we have a second table column this week, which is about the speakeasy. Partly about the speakeasy cocktails, insofar as this month, the month of January, 100% of the profits from the speakeasy are going to pro-immigrant causes in Minneapolis, Minnesota. That is a big promise.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I went down to the bar and I had myself a non-alcoholic, no raids, just rum cocktail, which, when you take out the rum, they add muddled raspberries. Delightful.
Ooh.
But I talked to the bartender, talked to some patrons, and I talked on the phone to the owner, Karina Estrada, who is in Minneapolis. So I love this. She got mad one night during the first Trump campaign and applied for law school.
Like you did.
Yeah, I know. I just get a container of ice cream out or make some angry phone calls, but she applied to law school. She is now an immigration lawyer. she also is an artist. She also owns the Speakeasy from afar. And as she put it to me, the Speakeasy, it's not a giant money-making machine or something, but as she put it, we're still here, we're still having a good time, we're still making music. That's really what she wants. She wants to feel a connection. She's from Humboldt, she loves Humboldt, and she wants to feel a connection and to support a community space. And the bar has done fundraisers before with Planned Parenthood and some other things. But recently, the chaos unfolding in Minneapolis with ICE just coming in, running in the streets, grabbing people. Obviously, the killing of Renee Good on January 7th, literally just shooting a woman in the face through her car windshield by an ICE agent. That insanity and all the terror and fear that has been inflicted on people in Minneapolis who are worried that ICE is going to grab them off the street, particularly people of color, particularly immigrants, but not always immigrants, as you know. They are pulling Native people. I don't know what they're doing, but she thought, I need to do something. And mind you, this is a woman who is already working at a nonprofit as a immigration lawyer. And she was like, this is not enough. I still need to do more. And so she decided, probably people in Humboldt feel that way too, but it can be hard, as you know, to donate because you're thinking to yourself, is this the legit organization? Is this one doing something worthy? Is this mostly going to pay for marketing? It can be really intimidating. So she vetted a couple of places that are really rapid response, grassroots organizations, like this church that is feeding 20,000 families, just sending food to people who cannot leave their house or cannot go to work, etc., because of ICE. And it's just about feeding people who are hungry. It is just about helping people who need help. And I really appreciated what she had to say about people in Humboldt and how she felt like she's not worried about making this kind of statement and having people be angry, people be violent to her staff and things like that. She checked in with them anyway, but she feels like Humboldt is a compassionate place and she knows that it's a place where people want to do good. And she's not expecting this to be a ton of money. But what she said to me was really interesting. She was saying it is hopefully something that is going to make people remember they can do something, to make people feel, to come together, to have a space where people can feel like they can have some momentum, remember that they have a connection to other people, and hopefully maybe be inspired to do something else on their own here. So it's a really interesting little project that she's got going this month. And the patrons and the bartenders are all down, and it was really lovely to see.
And I think I speak for a lot of folks that, again, you can, if you need a drink, now you know that some of that will go to proper profits and help people out. So get down to the Speakeasy and enjoy a mocktail or a cocktail. And thank you, Jennifer, for doing all this work. Thanks to Kim and Griffin and
April Lewis.
April Lewis.
She's new.
She's new. Oh, April Lewis, I see you, and I will remember. That
we gotta get her on here.
Well, exactly. Right? We have to get her before the Zoom mic. And that wraps up our time for this week. The current edition of the North Coast Journal is available on newsstands tomorrow. Pick up your copy, or of course you can always find it online at northcoastjournal.com. I am Tanya Schrum. Thanks for being with us and staying informed and supportive of our North Coast community.